Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Political No Brainer, the podcast where we move past winner takes all politics and into real conversations. I'm Jeff Rabinowitz, and this season we're bringing in voices from all sides to challenge assumptions, bridge divides, and build a better understanding of today's biggest issues. And I think Charlie just mentioned one of our biggest issues is our Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutkin, who had a brilliant comment about what's going on with the economy and pricing and inflation. You want to share that real quick, Charlie?
Yeah, so during our impromptu break there, I rewound Meet the Press so I could get as close as possible to his exact comments. So Kristen Welker asks him, well, they play a clip from Trump talking like he did many times on the trail about how we're going to bring prices down on day one. She says to the Commerce Secretary, as you know, prices have not gone down. They've actually gone up. Inflation has ticked up. When specifically can Americans expect prices to go down? His response, after taking a second, figure out where he wants to pivot, he says, egg prices went up 200% under Biden because he was just killing chickens trying to worry about something.
Just trying to worry.
Trying to worry about something. I don't know what it was he's worried about. Like he's scared of chickens, apparently. Or the avian flu. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the bird flu he's worried about. I mean, this guy's not that dumb, yet he is. You know, they become idiots right before your eyes when they try to pivot and cover for the nonsense that goes on. It's horrifying. It really is.
This whole staff is juvenile. His whole staff. I was watching Stephen Miller talk about how basically the president's a king. And what's interesting about it is his the way. I know that somebody wrote these comments for him. He was making it like he was doing it ad lib, but I know somebody wrote the comments. He rehearsed them, he memorized them, and then it's not even concerning what he said. It's not even concerning what some staff member below him wrote for him. It's concerning that when I was watching on the Facebook and the different social medias, how they revered these comments. Like this guy's just a young, brilliant upcoming genius. And I'm like, first of all, we've got to get back to the logic. There are no kings. So we are in a constitutional crisis. We're clearly in a constitutional crisis. And there's no stopping it at this point. There's really literally no stopping it because the amount of support he has, the amount of people that revere him is enormous. So we've got to just wonder ourselves, where is this going to get us? And I remember, as a kid, I couldn't read. And then my dad taught me to read. And I remember I used to go to the library and read newspapers and books. That's essentially how I came a current events wonk. I remember when I was a child, I read both of Trump's first books. And I remember reading how in one of them, I don't know which was the first, the Art of the Deal, or the second, which was the same bullshit. But he talked about how he liked throwing people out of his office. And now I'm starting to realize this whole Zelensky thing was rehearsed. I mean, he was dying to throw the guy out of his office.
Oh, yeah.
And then even if you go beyond what they've been posting as the video of them in the Oval Office, when Zelensky was getting out of his car, Trump was already talking about how he was dressed. So that means somebody was prompted in that room, whoever that person was, asking about why are you not wearing a suit? Why? He said, my country's at war. What, I'm not going to wear a suit. This.
Well, that reporter is dating Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, and works for some nothing right wing kook media outlet, and but that's the new thing. They all have the most access. But that guy he's Clan Mom's boyfriend.
I just thought it was fascinating. And he said my country's at war. Basically, you've got this murderer destroying their electrical infrastructure, so his people are freezing. Do you think it would be right if he was wearing a nice suit and maybe they should have brought out a big feast in the Oval Office for him to share with everybody and show his people how starving just isn't in vogue? I'm doing just fine.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I remember even in the first days of Israel, Golda Meir used to travel on public buses and everybody talked about how a world leader was, because your country's at war. Your people don't even know what tomorrow will bring, the same as it's happening in Ukraine today. And you're quizzing this guy on what he's wearing.
Well, and it's amazing they fail to see the irony in some of these statements. Like, first of all, they make this issue with Zelensky. Meanwhile, Elon's walking around like whatever, it's costume of his black Don't
Occupy
matter,
Mars T-shirt.
yeah, and all that stuff. And then also, even during the State of the Union address, he actually made the comment. There was laughter, you could tell, from a lot of people in the audience when he talked about how, we're going to prevent you from being ruled by unelected bureaucrats. And cut to Elon standing right there in the audience. I'm like, you don't even realize how ridiculous that sounds.
Right.
But that's always Trump, right? He always, he always, will tell you the sky is green with a straight face. So, nothing's changed in that regard. It's, it's always part of his play. Just say what you want it to be true, and you keep saying it, and his believers will eventually believe it.
Oh, they believe it. He doesn't have to keep saying it. If he says it, they believe it. I've never seen it. We used to question politicians, and now he is beyond questioning.
But one of the most frightening things I saw, I think I've even heard during this entire frightening rollout, was the Secretary of Treasury was at like a CPAC type meeting, very friendly environment for super right, but it wasn't CPAC. And he's talking about how, now here's they campaign almost exclusively on the price of goods and immigration. But the one that really mattered to people, obviously, inflation, the price of goods. And this guy's up there saying now, listen, he's trying to explain the tariff process and the new Trump economy. And he's saying, we need to change our models because the economy, the health of the economy should not be based on the affordability of goods. So they want to change the entire algorithm for how we report the health of the economy. Now, that's really frightening stuff. You think about it, like, what really moves the needle on elections is just that. And if you're able to manipulate from the highest point in government, the actual numbers that come out that describe, inflation or unemployment or things like that, you can change that entire thing and just, you're really, really getting to the point of fully manipulated information from the government, at the most, highest levels, the most important levels. That's pretty frightening stuff. That's definitely authoritarianism at its, its finest right there. That's, we're gonna change the way we report how the economy is in a manner that makes it work for us. And then people just don't know what's going on.
You remember when Biden first came into office, and I think I mentioned this on the last one of the podcasts we were all together, was there was stickers. Biden did that on the gas pumps, and like you said, they've got to change that narrative because a president's report card is the price of gas. America is the most auto-intensive country in the world, and the price of gas, literally, you go grocery shopping on average once a week. Gas, you can literally buy it 2-3 times a week, like I do, and like a lot of people do. And they did this whole thing. Biden did that. What was interesting about that is the reality is that sticker scared the hell out of Biden. That whole movement that Biden did that movement. And he literally dispatched his energy secretary to Houston, where all the oil companies are, and said, we need to get this prices down. And they issued the most drilling permits of any other administration in history. And so, again, the whole drill, baby, drill. All Republicans have to say is drill, baby, drill, and everybody thinks they're an energy-friendly, energy-efficient policy-making party. And in reality, Biden issued the most drilling permits of any administration. So I brought that point to when I had conservative hosts, and one of them reached out and said, there was so much regulation. There's regulation on drilling. You can't just put a drilling rig in the middle of the ocean without the government at least saying, hey, let me see how this is going. And it's like, no matter what you put in front of them, they're convinced. So how do you battle that logic? How do you...
Well, that's it. Going back to my point too, is that, the one way you hope it changes is that people, they see how things are in their actual lives and they make corrections at the voting box. But if they're going to get to that point where people won't even really know the health of the economy because it's being manipulated by the Treasury Department in a way that is friendly to the administration, that's just another way to really control the vote. Now, eventually, you hope people are going to, people know their own reality, right? You can't hide it completely from them. They know the price of eggs. They know the price of gas, and if that stays high, there's going to be movement for a change at the midterms. But you can certainly, stunt some of that by these type of things they're talking about, about changing the way it's reported at all. That's just,
Well, the reality is just hitting it. I went to Aldi's today, and like you said, I got nothing, and it was $130.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I've still got to feed 2 kids. I mean, there wasn't much in there. Some produce, eggs, which was about $15 in the tab, $18 in the tab, actually 3 dozen eggs, and it's insane.
You
It's
know,
freaking.
when I first started going to the grocery store more often with my wife, if you go to Publix, as they're ringing things up, they have like two things that are going. You have the actual prices and then how much you saved. It's like its own little tally as it's going. So I'm sitting there with my wife and I'm like nodding my head like, look, I'm here. Look how much cheaper everything is. And I was looking at the price saved number, which is like 1/5 of the price. So it's like, oh, look at this. It's like $75. I'm like, no, $250.
Well, that might be the Trump's new narrative, how they saved you money,
It's
how
what you
they.
save. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I mean, they may be hiring Publix executives to be a part of their cabinet. I mean, they hired every other Hegseth, charge of 3 million employees. He's never even managed a Taco Bell. I mean,
Hegseth, Patel.
Patel,
Patel's deputy, even scarier, the Boingo guy. Boingo, dude's name is. Oh,
all
it's really, really,
confirmed.
really, really terrifying because it's not just a matter of not agreeing with these people's policies. Like these are really inadequate people for these positions. And the stories I hear about what's going on in the FBI are just again frightening. How and what and such disarray that this guy has no idea what to do. He has no idea how to handle it, how to do that job. You know, you know,
So,
and then the whole thing with the Secretary of Education on her mission to destroy her own department.
and firing herself, but somehow she'll be reappointed to something else. She's deleting her own job.
Well, and the thing they're doing with the public service loan forgiveness, which hits close to home for me because I'm the beneficiary of that. Actually, I'm just my law school loans are about to be paid off in full because I did 10 years working at the prosecutor's office. But that program is supposed to be for anyone who works, like in government or for a nonprofit that its goal is to benefit society in general. So it's pretty broad. And now they want to cut off pretty much everything other than jobs like mine, like law enforcement, things like that. So people who are, getting degrees and going to work for these NGOs that are doing good deeds around the world, anything that's kind of similar to USAID there, they want to cut those people off from the loan forgiveness. So again, it's not, they're calling these activities illegal. It's not, they want to penalize these students because they chose something to do something that this administration deems unneeded. And so, by virtue of that, by their own opinion, but not by any facts, they're going to cut these poor people off, who are anticipating getting their loans paid. And then again, that's just going to, I just saw the other day, since the pause stopped for the payments, the number of default student loans is getting insanely high again. That's a big chunk.
Well, the tariffs will pay for it, right? I mean,
yeah, sure. And then we get our tariff check from the
Doge, the 5,000.
yeah.
Yeah, the corruption level. So like that, this creation of this like crypto, like United States crypto account. What's he calling that? It's like
I haven't even heard of that yet.
Oh yeah, it's a sovereign wealth fund. That's what they call it, the sovereign wealth fund. They want to create a sovereign wealth fund. So it's basically like creating a new Fort Knox, but for crypto.
Yeah.
And specifically naming the companies that the crypto that they're going to buy. So like completely manipulating the crypto market just by saying, we're going to create this sovereign wealth fund, and these are the bitcoins that we're going to populate it with. So just a ridiculous open fraud. That again, but he's good at that, right? He's always been that way, doing things in broad daylight. So people think like, well, he can't really be as bad as it seems because he's not even trying to hide it.
He really has proven he does not have to hide it. He really has proven that he's capable. He is truly the real Teflon Don at this point.
Yeah. He doesn't even try to hide it anymore. He just doesn't have it anymore. I saw when that one reporter from, I forgot, maybe ABC, but he asked him about the argument between Rubio and Musk that had, that just hit the news a few hours before. And he told the guy, you're not supposed to ask that question. So he's deciding now even which questions they can ask. But he's not like that's something that you'd think that would be like a hot mic moment. He just said it flat out loud, like you're not supposed to ask that question.
No, and these reporters shudder because they know if they get into a tiff with him, they won't be invited back to the press room. They won't.
Yeah,
So, and they're generally young. They're generally just starting out. And they don't know what's going to follow after not being invited back to the press room. But they're just going to be reduced to never having a job again.
yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah, I
well,
think the way he's doing all of these executive orders and the way he's working this White House, I think it's going to be sort of the new standards going forward. I think,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, people are gonna the next administrations, nothing is going to be out of question the way he's running it now. They can pretty much do anything they want. I think he's setting a new precedent for the way the White House will be run.
And the Democratic resistance has been so weak and disorganized, and I feel like I think we talked about this the last time about the one weapon they had left is to not give them any votes for the budget, to force them to actually govern themselves. And I really thought, I was confident that the Democrats would stick to that, but then you see like 10 Democrats voted yes on the censure of that congressman who actually had the ball
Yes.
to make a statement. There were like 10 Democrats who got on board with that censure and like, no, we're not going to hold together. They're not going to hold together with the budget.
no, they can't.
Because
They
they only,
won't.
what do they need? Like 2 or 3 Democratic votes probably at most. They don't need,
No,
I
they
think
need three.
like
They need
they
three.
three. If the usual voices on the Republican side who say no for the budget are going to say no. And I think that's true. I don't think he can get it done on his own. But I think the Democrats they're gonna cave.
You
I don't
can't
think
get it done on
they
your own if you only have a 3-vote majority in the House.
and they're counting on the Democrats to cave, and the Democrats will cave. I think.
They will.
Because
They
like I said,
will.
there'll be 2 or 3, and if there's 10 who are willing to go along with that censure, that guy was the one highlight. And I thought it was the exact move that should have been done. And the rest of them sitting there with their little signs and wearing the pink outfits, and just it didn't work at all.
I think the last house that when they were trying to pass the new resolution or continuing resolution, they like there were 3 Republicans, I think, that wanted to vote against it. And they were called specifically by Donald Trump and like threatened.
Right. Yeah, I do kind of remember that. I mean, I think it's like the Rand Pauls of the party, right? It's the
Yeah, I
So in
mean,
the House, you have to realize in the House, they're scared to death of their jobs. They have 2-year terms.
mm,
So, and then now they have this new weapon, Elon Musk, who's saying, I will primary you. So for Elon Musk to say, I will find your primary candidate opponent and I'll give him $3 million to be your opponent, and he will ultimately beat you in the primary. So they're scared to death. My feeling is you're not supposed to be in the House term after term after term after term. Let him primary you.
yeah,
And then we'll get to a point, not from their logic, but we'll get to a point where we were in the Senate the last time where Mitch McConnell even said, we have such a low grade of candidates, we are not going to keep majority in the House. And he did. We took back the House. Granted, there was a special election in Georgia, but nobody thought we would win it. And so, like you said, if the Democrats can't hold it together for that little bit, for that one censure, and you've literally not only got the 3 they needed, but you've got 10 now. I mean,
mm,
literally, they can't even collude to say we only gave you the 3 votes you needed. They had to go high. They had
yeah,
to raise the benchmark to 10 congressmen with no balls. And I mean, granted, they may be congresswomen, but it's metaphorically speaking. But just just it's just I've always said and I've always felt the frustration of how much better Republicans play the game.
sure.
And I'm just like, I want to be on. And then my concern is their logic? Is there logic that the economy is going to tank? You got to realize, sometimes when the economy starts to falter, you'll see little inklings like General Motors announces 25,000 layoffs, and the concern starts right there. And the economy starts to falter. People brace themselves, start holding on to money, and that makes the economy falter more. But when the government announces 2 million layoffs, the economy is going to falter. I mean, you're literally talking about people. And so what happens? So you're going to drive up the deficit. All these people are entitled to unemployment. There's no doubt about it, which means the states are going to have this enormous debt to pay on top of the federal government. The economy is going to crash. So my concern is where I'm landing with this is the Democrats' logic is that it's going to falter. We're going to win big in the midterms, and we're going to stymie Trump's approach as best we can in the legislative branch, but his executive orders will still keep coming through at a rapid rate. But then we'll get our president back in the White House in it'll be what 2028. We'll get our president. But then my concern is, will Democrats again play the game all wrong? That's my worry. Is we get the White House back, we get the Senate back, we get the House back. We're in a position because they play things so wrong. They should have never let Biden run again. I mean, the guy was losing his facilities in his first term. They keep arguing about Reagan. Reagan didn't lose his facilities until the second year of his second term. That's okay.
It was never really on camera either, right? I mean,
It wasn't. It's entirely different. Social media changed the game.
Yeah. So, well,
Good.
I lost my train of thought there.
Oh,
I was just, I know what I was going to say. I've never been a proponent of like, oh, we need a third party, or never believed that was realistic. I think if at any time we're in a position for there to be and for us to need a new party, it's right now, because I think the Democratic label, small d Democrat, is so toxic right now, and they are in such disarray, and there's just no core leadership. I mean, this might be the time. And even in saying that, I don't really believe it. But if ever there were a time for us to actually have a new party, a more, center left, realistic, effective party to go against, this monstrosity that's become the GOP, this would be the time. But I never even hear anyone saying anything about that. So it's not like I'm bringing this up because I've heard in the wind that, something's afoot, but you just don't see any core leadership at all, right? There's no one that you can look to and say, like, this person's going to be, could be the one to get us out of this. I mean, I don't see anyone.
No, the Republican Party was going to make a new party. It was going to be Trump's party, but that ended up
well, and they did really. I mean, it really is, and everything. The Republican name is still attached to it, the GOP, but they're not. I mean, for those of us who grew up, lived through the Reagan years and know what that conservative party looks like, this is nothing the same. I mean, like I said, it's in name only. It's completely the MAGA party. It's become that, and they've all fallen in line. It's not like there's anyone left who's vocally saying this. That I know I'm sure there's a lot of congressmen and women and senators who believe this, but none of them have the balls to say it. And again, like what Trippy was just saying there about, why they, if they're afraid to do that, then they're definitely in it for the wrong reasons. They're not in it for public service.
No.
If you're gonna change what you believe in to stay in office, then you're definitely in DC for the wrong reasons. And I think most of them are. It's a power thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's a power thing and a lifestyle thing. You have your own transportation. They talk about the House public transportation. They're not getting on the subways with average, ordinary, daily people. They talked about Biden getting on the train every day to work. He's not getting on the public railroad. He's getting on a private transit system that's going to serve him a cocktail if he wants, or bring him a nice breakfast if he chooses. The lifestyle is just incredible. And whether we could change that or not, we should, as voters, say, at least hold people to the expectation that they're not going to stay in office forever. And then I don't know, we just need to be more educated as voters, because we really have the wrong people in every position. We can look at the Trump cabinet and say we've got every, Hegseth, like I like to say, he's never even managed a Taco Bell, and then overnight he's confirmed to manage a department with 3 million employees. He's confirmed to manage our national security. But you know what? I mean, I can honestly say Andrea Ocasio-Cortez is not the person I want to see in the House representing my party anymore. I've had enough of her. She did her good, though. She got out, she got a clipboard, she got signatures, she beat an old guy at the primaries, she beat an old timer at the primaries. Go on with something else now. You've done, but she won't leave, and no one else will.
No, don't, yeah, they're not going to voluntarily leave. I mean,
No.
I think
Because, it's one of the only things where the voters, you hear this all the time too, like they vote for people like Lauren Boebert or Clan Mom or something like that because they talk like me and they act like me. And so I'm like, can you imagine if you did that with like, say, a doctor? Like, how are you going to decide your doctor? I just want someone who's like at my level of understanding of medicine. It's the same thing. I mean, the job is that important. We lose sight of that. It should be that important. But the people that we put in there, especially in the House of Representatives, I mean, the Boeberts and the Clan Moms of the world. Like, what did Lauren Boebert do before she got herself elected in the middle of Colorado? There,
she was a party or a sugar baby for Ted Cruz. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine her doing any real job, right? She just looks like a total dolt, and that's there's a lot of those there.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that Marjorie Taylor Greene's entire district thinks it can see themselves with. I mean, she's got to be one of the most unintelligent. In Congress. I don't want to call her an idiot, but
no, she is. She's clueless. These are a lot of low intelligence people. Trump always does that thing where whatever he fears about himself, he always throws on someone else. And that thing about always talking about how he's really smart. He goes, he talks about he's got this big brain. I mean, he is really a low IQ dude. You can just tell. I mean, beyond the fact that he's like crazy old grandpa at this age. But just in general, his understanding of things is childlike. He seems to have the mental acuity of like a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah. Well, there were studies that say he's as low as a 6-year-old. He thinks as a 6-year-old sometimes. I thought I read a study. I'm not sure. I'm not confirming or denying that, but I mean, there's concern in my mind, at least, that he says some childish things. He really does. He literally stood in front of. He was in his cabinet, and they played in the room, and he said, I got a great team here. I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. We're going to do a lot more greater good in the next. This is our first month, and then we're going to have a lot. All you've done is passed executive orders that were predetermined by the Heritage Foundation. This was a plan. Not a single person in that cabinet room understands what you're pushing for. You're pushing for. So talking about $200 billion in cuts in one part of the government that controls the $800 billion in cuts in one part of the government that controls Medicare and Medicaid. So you understand that $800 billion is gone. You're going to decimate Medicare and Medicaid. But you as a cabinet didn't come up with that plan. You as a cabinet.
One of my favorite stories that's come out during these 6 weeks. Uh-oh.
Did we lose you?
I'm like, I think, did we lose Beth?
Here.
You here?
Me? I'm here.
I can hear you. Oh, there you are. Something happened. It sounded like it was getting fast forwarded. I think your dog's sleeping.
Finally. Oh my gosh. That was a nightmare.
She's adorable. Is she a she?
The one on the bed is. The one down here is the blind one, the one that keeps.
They're adorable.
He's chilling out.
They're sweet, but they.
Did you guys see the story? This came out in the middle of the week at some point. I loved this story. They asked Musk's company's version of chatbot, their AI thing, what are the odds that Donald Trump is a Russian asset? And the Musk's own AI chatbot thing came back with 85% chance, and then details the reasons why. Like, goes through his entire financial history and everything. It's very, very detailed analysis of why he is either an actual asset or more likely just effectively an asset to Moscow by his actions. And that was their chatbot, which I just thought was hilarious. Because how do you walk that one back? I mean, I can imagine how they'll walk it back. They'll say, well, it gets information from the media, and the media's coverage of Trump is slanted, and that's why they. I can always see what their excuse could be, but you can't walk around that. Like, that is his company, their technology, and it's coming back basically saying Trump is an asset of Moscow more than the United States.
Well,
Which, yeah, you don't need a chatbot for you to understand that.
we know I mean, I feel like it's obvious he's an asset. But in defense of Republicans' logic, now here's my feeling of their logic. There's a theory and in practice, in order for the United States to compete in the world economy, we need a partner. So is that partner going to be Western Europe, who has proven to be fairly unstable as a partner in every aspect? That, I go back to when Defense Secretary Robert Gates, who worked for Bush and then stayed on with Obama, said about NATO, the European allies are cheapskates. In Libya, we were providing all the munitions. They didn't bring anything to the table. And that was a part of his frustration in the exit interview. We had to bring everything to the table in our mission in Libya. So where I'm landing with this is, in theory, we need a partner. To compete with China's 2 billion people, we need the United States and someone. China's 2 billion people, their internal combustion is an economic dynamo. So, and in Republicans, they're thinking Russia's the way to go. Eastern Europe's the way to go, not Western Europe, because it's just like Don Jr. once said, when the economy was tanking, he said, we've got this steady flow of investors all coming from Russia, and that's why we're still building golf courses when everybody's shuttering their doors. So Republicans are money folk. They're saying, hey, this is a more reliable partner. The problem is Putin is not a reliable partner. We are relying on Putin. If we're relying on Putin to be our partner in this economic competition, if you will, we're relying on the wrong guy. But this is Trump's thing. He is an asset. He is a very close friend of Putin. I don't believe for a minute that we just stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine because it was not an email that was sent to Trump and Hegseth, stop sharing satellite imagery, and we'll be able to break the backs of Ukraine in 30 days or less. They have no actionable intelligence now. They're just bombing at random, and Russia is decimating Ukraine once and for all. And it's so we know. I mean, it's clear according to Trump's decisions to pause all the weapons supply, to stop sharing intelligence. He is getting this direction directly from Putin.
And it makes you feel like we were talking, I was talking conspiracy theories last time, and that's sort of what I feel like when Trump was on stage with Putin his first term, and he didn't say Trump, or Putin is lying. Like I thought maybe he just doesn't have the spine to say in front of a man that, I think you're a liar. But after what happened with Zelensky, it can't be anything but he is returning favors to Putin. Like, I don't know if he just thinks he's a strong man and he just idolizes Putin, or if there really is something, that he's paying Putin back for his loyalty or for the 30,000 emails. I have no idea, but it does make you think, that he owes Putin.
It certainly does. I mean, and I also think, and I'm not saying conspiracy, I'm saying it out loud. I think Republicans like the idea. I think wealthy, powerful Republicans like the idea of us aligning ourselves with Russia versus us aligning ourselves with Western Europe. I think they see more gain in that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And just the idea of the world being cut up amongst maybe two or three major powers, us being the one in the West, and it kind of goes in with the whole, like, we're going to take Greenland, we're going to make Canada the 51st state, we're taking back the Panama Canal. Like, he's already acting like he wants to be the dictator of this half of the world.
Right.
And if we align ourselves with other like-minded people like Putin, I think they're just fine with that. They're just fine with, allowing them to carve up their little piece of it, and then we'll do the same over here. I mean, those are the actions he's taking. I mean, he doesn't back down from these things, like saying, we're going to take Greenland. Imagine an American president talking about that, like acting like we're just going to go in and take someone's land, or we're going to force Canada to be the 51st state by destroying them economically. It's still hard to believe. You're hearing these things and seeing these things. It's just a frightening new world politically.
No,
Well,
really.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and going forward, I feel like this is the way it's going to be from now on. I feel like the only way that the Democrats will win another election is going to, if history repeats itself, it's going to be because the economy has faltered in such a poor state that they have to go with another choice. I mean, I've never seen a country so in love with a president before uh that would be or so loyal to him that would follow him anywhere, and with Putin, like a country and leadership that we have been at odds with and terrified of since the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Since the end of World War II, really, right after World War II. I mean, that's really when the competition started. And I was just watching a clip from actually it was Jack Kennedy on Meet the Press in '61, I think. So it wasn't too long before he was killed, but just talking about how, they're already ahead of us with rockets and space race and everything like that. And so it really got going already, by the beginning of the '60s. And, just to change course now, considering especially who Putin is, but it's hard to recognize, but it's there every day. We're going to get, and that's what makes me sad too, is that it's going to be one of those things where people become kind of used to it. It's no longer shocking, and that's part of the playbook too, right? Lull everyone to sleep.
It certainly is. My biggest concern is that I think America is always ready for a reset. I do know that there's people that absolutely love Trump. That just you're never going to change their mind about him, whether they believe he's a Christian or whether they believe he's a great leader or a strong man. They love him. But he did not win a resounding victory. It was a very slim victory. I mean, like I said, he did win all 7 swing states. That's how you win. 3 or 4 of them by 1%. The concern there was that the Democrats again played the game entirely wrong. They counted on a very old man, and then the first of 8, it was over. I mean, they literally had to make a statement after 9 o'clock, he's done. And America was concerned. The president needs to be alert after 9 p.m. The president needs to be alert after waking up at 2 a.m. It was over. They should have stopped Biden in his tracks, said, if you're going to run for president, we're just going to concede defeat now. We're going to cut your money off. They should have took a stand and told him, no, you can't run for re-election. We would have had a shootout for the nomination. Who knows who would have been the candidate? I don't think it would have been Kamala Harris. I really think it would have been Josh Shapiro. But Charlie also thinks Windermere could have been whomever would have beaten Trump other than Biden, and then Kamala Harris in 90 days had to create a miracle. And she basically did. She did a lot of good. I never saw the Democratic Party be so decisive and rally around one candidate in that period of time, but she couldn't win like that. It was too much. And I've said it before, I don't believe Josh Shapiro was not picked for the vice president position. I believe he said no thank you because he didn't think it was a winning ticket and he didn't want to be labeled as a loser.
Well, that's what it's saying. I don't think, I'm not very confident that anyone, even if Biden hadn't run again and we had a normal process and got a new candidate in the normal process, I don't know if this country was ever not going to vote for a change candidate, and change being like different party. I mean, that's how the entire world basically shifted. And I don't think this country is going to be any different. So, it's interesting too. You talk about Trump, like, he is old and clearly not in good health, despite, the lies that he spews out from his doctors. But should he pass in office, really interesting to watch that party cannibalize itself, right? Because J.D. Vance is certainly not someone that any of them are going to gravitate to, right? He's just not liked and he's not good at the job. So it's like, who fills that vacuum? It's not the children. Don Jr. is a freaking dolt as much as his father. He's as much of a dolt as his father without the charisma. It'd be interesting to see what happens with that party, because people always say, and I'm one of them, like, oh, you know what? Just when Trump goes, Trumpism isn't going to go away, MAGA isn't going away, and that's true. But a big chunk of it will, because he's at like cult status. It's not about the reality of who he is. It's the symbol of Trump. Like the giant gold statue in that AI thing for Gaza, the gold balloon Trump heads.
That was hilarious.
It's just So just say, like you said, I mean, if Trump, and I can honestly say I don't wish anybody he dies. I know he's the president, but um, if he dies, and then like America's ready for a reset, there is no JD Vance is not the person they can pass the torch to. I don't see that for 1 minute. Again, the people who love Trump will say they love JD Vance, they love Don Jr., they love the little one. What's his name? Um, what's the little son's name? The youngest son's name,
Oh,
Byron.
Aaron.
But no,
Okay,
no.
but ain't
If
nothing little about that
Democrats,
kid. He's like 7 foot tall.
right?
he looks like Mr. Gomez on the Adam Family. He looks like Gomez
7,
Adam.
right? Six
Huh?
foot. The
Six
kid,
foot.
yeah, 6'7", I think.
I think he's. I was about to say. I think he's 6'7". Yeah, yeah.
I think Trump, like when he took office this time, he wanted to be 6'6", I think. Was it 6?
He's and he sings now. I saw him on America's Got Talent.
Did you really?
Trump's Jr. Barron. He was on America's Got Talent.
Was he really?
Yes. You haven't seen it?
No, I never
He
heard about it.
wowed this. He wowed the stage.
Was
You
he
got to
good?
watch it. Yeah, I wish we had a. Well, I don't really want to watch it again, but as I said, I wish we could pipe it in on this. We could, but I don't really want to. But he did. He wowed the stage. He did.
Cool.
But so when we get power back, because it's just a matter of time, are we going to screw the pooch again, or are we going to try to? My question is, did we go too far? For 50 years we've grown the New Deal. We've grown it. It's never shrunk. We've grown it. And then there was even during on Bush Jr.'s watch, he expanded. I think it was the Plan B or the Plan D for the drug part of Medicare, where that was almost $1 trillion new entitlement. Are we at the point now where we realize some people are tired of the idea that we've got to provide everything for everyone? Can we grow the party in a way that appeals to more center right?
I mean, can we? Yes. Will we? That's the question, right? They seem
Because
to. They seem to go right back to their old patterns once in power. I didn't mention that earlier.
so imagine this logic. You're Charlie Heinemann. You had student loans. You committed to the government job for 10 years to get your student loans forgiven. And that's an amazing commitment because literally any point after 3 years you could have got a better paying job. So really you're not getting your student loans forgiven. You're actually paying a high price for that. But there's people that Biden just forgave debt. And
Yeah.
there was some frustration there. There's students that are
Oh, yeah.
saying, I paid my debt off. I
Yeah.
worked a second job for 5 years to pay my debt off. So do we ever get to the point where we draw the line on what we're willing to do for people as a party?
You would hope so. You would hope they'll learn something from this last go round because the electorate's made it pretty clear. And that's not just the wealthy part of it's not the Trump tax cut beneficiaries. It's like, it's the general public. Like there are a lot of people who are upset about that whole thing, and rightfully so, right? You understand that frustration when he's going to do it with such a wide cut for the student loan forgiveness that there were legitimately lots of people making a lot of money who would have had their loans, forgiven. So you can see the frustration, but again, are they going to learn from that? We'll see.
Because
I
that's
guess
where they
right?
lose.
It depends on
That's
what
where
kind of leadership emerges.
Like I said, I think it's going to be a while before the Democrats find their footing and find like a good popular platform for which, I think medical is one. Obviously, student loans weren't that popular, but maybe broadening student funding or something. But they really, you're right, they really have to get it together and sort of rebrand and figure out who they want to attract, the people they want to attract. And then moving forward, they really need to play just as dirty and nasty as the Republicans. I mean, I really feel like after Trump, I think it's going to be an economic disaster, which is since I think Bush, how we've been going, they tank it, and then we spend the next 4 8 years trying to build it back up. But after that, I mean, we usually go with Democrats because it's the only other it's our last resort because we're already economically faltered, you know what I mean? So I mean, I really see that going this way with Trump. So I see the next term being a Democrat, but what they'll be standing on the platform, they really have to find something that attracts a broader base and be as nasty and backhanded as the Republicans have been.
And they got to be proud of their accomplishments. Republicans are always big on saying we did this and we did that. And Democrats are always big on saying, well, we didn't do that. My point has always been the Affordable Care Act, for example. I thought the acronym should have been the Available Care Act. Everybody has health care available to them. But Democrats are like, it's not good enough. We need universal health care now. And it's like a lot of people are just saying, from real concern, universal health care won't work in a country this big. And we're hearing a lot of the problems of universal health care in Europe, where you're literally waiting days for a doctor visit. So it's the Democrats who never feel like they've done enough, and they're always wanting to do more, 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 more. And the Republicans are always saying, look at all the good we've done. And they haven't done crap, but they're just better at the game of propaganda. And we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. Biden was a good president. He got a lot of things done legislatively. He accomplished things, but it was time for him just to move on. And he had to run again. And he had to show up at the debate. He had to literally look like he was going to collapse at the podium. I mean, he literally looked like, I can't do this anymore. I'm holding myself up at the podium. And then Trump even played it one time. He said, I don't even know what he said. I know Trump knew what he said. I even understood what he said, but Trump played it well. And here we are. And I'm just tired of believing in a party and a movement and then getting screwed by that party and the movement because Hillary Clinton was the wrong candidate. We never had to have a Trump conversation if Hillary Clinton wasn't the candidate.
You just didn't like her. She wasn't a popular you know what I mean?
As a person, I think she would have been a good president.
Totally,
But
yeah.
But as a person, everybody was fed up. And it was also the dynasty thing. You don't want Bush after Bush. You don't want Clinton after Clinton. It was even to the point where they told him, don't hold Bush and Clinton signs up, hold Hillary and Jeb signs up because just dynasty thing is. But still, we lost the election because of that. And then Trump can do anything uh, as far as not upstanding, and it's okay. But Hillary and her 30,000 emails were a real issue because of the factor that she wasn't likable.
Think more people are going they're getting off the cable and getting their news from hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, you pressed for a sec. I think more people are getting their news from things like podcasts and online on YouTube. And so when you're in an algorithm, you're only getting one side of the news. There's got to, like I think people need to get a little more creative about attracting a broader base when they're doing political commentary. Like you guys, like when you were doing both sides, something that attracts a broader base so you can get actual facts out instead of, hyperbole and rhetoric that Fox wants you to hear or that, is half truths or not truths at all, or, making big deals about the things that are just really ridiculous, like the tariffs. Like, I don't know, are they on or are they off? I can't keep up. But I know some are on and some are off. But I think with people like with they're cutting Medicaid and SNAP, I personally know somebody who is on both of those, and he told me, yeah, they cut my SNAP and his medical or Medicaid, and he's trying to apply for Social Security disability. And I thought like, and still gung ho for Trump. Like, and I thought, like, yeah, you voted for that. You voted for those cuts, and now everything that you're trying to get, you're not going to be able to, or it's going to be a lot less than it would have been under a Democrat for sure. But you're okay with that? Like
And is that his lifeline? That could really be his lifeline.
That's what I mean. Like even people how I don't know how you overcome that. Or maybe when they do lose their medical on their SNAP, maybe they realize, oh, that was really important. Maybe Republican is not how I don't know. I really don't know what the answer for that is going to be, but um I completely agree with you. They're gonna have to get on board with a new branding or a new, you
They
know.
have to understand, they need to recognize the attention economy that the Republicans, and in particular Trump, are so good at manipulating, and also good at understanding how it works. Like you were saying, all the way most people get their news now is not the way it was when we were growing up, right? It's not at all. It's podcasts, it's social media, it's Google, and the right has been all in on that, right, since the early days of Fox, and they absolutely saturated the landscape. And that's why I don't think we really did learn. The Democrats really did not learn enough from the 2016 debacle, because really in 2020, that should have been a landslide in our favor. I mean, it was the Trump presidency, especially those last few years, was such a horror show. It really shouldn't have been as close as it was. And so I don't really think that it's not a new thing that they're not catching up. I don't think it's gotten any better since 2016. It's probably gotten worse in terms of the disconnect between the ability to use media in an effective way and to understand the shape of the electorate and understand how polling is different than it used to be, and it's never going to be the same. You're never going to have polls that were reliable in the same ways that they used to be, because of social media, because of the information change in the way we deliver information. And you really need that's the big part of it. I think that's how they're able to win despite having such bad policies, bad in terms of how it affects everyday people, and then being able to turn around and say we're the party of the regular the regular family, the typical family, while just doing everything opposite that.
Yeah.
Well, they actually say it, and they sound like they mean it, and people believe it. And my point has always been, what do Democrats say that just nobody buys into their beliefs or their commitments? It's like they're so bad at this game of saying what of 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 gaining new voters.
Well, I mean, look what they're doing to veterans, right? The huge cuts in all these veteran programs, on top of like all the comments that he's made, that losers and suckers comments, all these things he's done, yet he still holds on to such a high percentage of military or former military in terms of support. It's like there's nothing he can do, more or less just spit in their face, and they're immovable. Like that stuff they're doing to him now, like cutting, just slashing
77,000 employees from the Veterans Affairs.
Policy. I think it's the person. I think they'll back him absolutely no matter what he does. It like I said with the Medicaid and the tariffs and the Putin loving, like it's the individual. I don't think it's the messaging with
I read last week one of the Doge boys, maybe it was Elon himself, but during their just massive, chainsaw cutting, one of the things they cut temporarily was funding for the people who are responsible for maintaining the X-ray machines and MRI, the radioactive portions of that, to keep them, to make sure they're not, leaking out and causing problems in the hospital. So by cutting that, they basically effectively made it so no hospital in the country could be certified to be open. So they had to quickly walk that one back. But there was another one in that bill also that cut the funding to sterilize equipment for surgeries. And that one stayed. That cut's still there. So they lost their funding for, sterile surgery supplies for veteran operations.
I saw that.
So you got 77,000 Veteran Affairs employees are getting fired, laid off, cut, whatever. This is a president that campaigned on the notion that we're doing all this for illegal immigrants and we're not doing enough for our veterans. I literally volunteer at a home for homeless veterans. It's called Lee Gardens on Lee Road across the street from Motel 6. It's a repurposed motel. Homeless veterans, 50, 60 of them are living there. The place is old. The rooms are not the Waldorf Astoria. Believe me when I tell you they're not even Motel 6. I know the director. I report directly to her when I help. There's been no uptick in funding. And like you said, the veterans still support him. You campaigned on this notion that we're not doing enough for veterans, and you're not doing anything for veterans, and it's okay. It's okay. There's no issue. No one, if Biden said even, I'm going to, and Biden did a lot for veterans. That's another point. But if Biden said he's going to do anything and he faltered on it, but Trump said he's going to stop the Ukraine war from day one, we're still in a debacle to the point where he's embarrassed and now he's cut off intelligence sharing, cut off weapons. So sure, at some point the war is going to be lost. But the security risks that are involved with this war being completely lost are enormous. Whereas if he didn't at least cut off funding, if he didn't cut off intelligence, if he didn't cut off weapon supplies, there would have been a better arrangement. Now Ukraine's in a position where they may lose the whole country. And then you're talking about Russia rolling into Poland, which I don't see them having much success with. But then the wonder is, are we even going to stand behind Poland? Because NATO is a contractual agreement. It's attack one, attack all. Now the theory is Trump's not going to keep to that word. So you got a whole when Bush used to say there's a new world order, we've got a new world disorder now, and it's okay. It's okay because he's Trump. And then when you ask Christians, how do you justify? Well, there was this dysfunctional king in Scripture, and he was a rapist and a murderer, and so you're equating Trump with this dysfunctional king, and it's okay. And I just don't understand the logic. Is my question, not my statement. Does anybody have an answer?
Well, I think another great side benefit you're going to see from this also is going to be a new arms race. I mean, France came out this week, said, we're going to step up and be the nuclear, shield or force to counter Russia's influence. So, it was basically France and Great Britain as the nuke-powered European countries. But I think you're going to see other countries pursuing that. I think you're going to see Japan. That Japan's already starting to do that anyway. But I think you're going to see more and more of that because, the world order changes that much with us going into this isolationist posture. That's another thing you're going to see. You're going to see people starting to build up their own military, including, I believe, nuclear capabilities.
Well, not only nuclear capabilities, China's got the green light now to roll into Taiwan. I mean, they know nothing will stop them. They know that's no issue anymore.
See, I'm of the position, I think we need to prepare for that rather than try and prepare to keep Taiwan, prepare as much as possible to deal with a world where China has Taiwan. Because every time I've read stories about the war gaming of if we had to really go all in to protect that little island from China, that far away from our home base, it's just really, really bad. It's like best case scenario is standstill with, huge numbers of dead people, casualties. The word I was looking for. That's something I hope I'm not alive to see, because that to me is the most realistic flashpoint for the next World War. I think more so than what's going on in Europe.
Oh yeah, for sure it is, because first of all, that's Hegseth's fascination is dealing with China. That's why he says we have no time or money for Europe. That was part of his book, I believe.
But it is interesting. He ran. If you look at the campaign, right? He ran on basically two things. The price of goods and immigration. Now you've got his Treasury Secretary flat out saying, we're not going to judge the economy by the price of goods. Yeah. Okay, there's half of your entire campaign. And then it's also immigration. What happened with that? That was everything like the first 3 or 4 weeks, right? You don't even hear about it now. They obviously have figured out that they can't do, or they probably always knew, that they couldn't do 1/10 of what they were talking about in terms of deportation. Just don't have the money or the manpower. And so that's another one that for all they're saying they're going to get done, I'll give them this. They apparently, if the numbers are right, that the border crossings, he has scared them enough that the border crossings are down to almost nothing comparatively. But, that's one of those things. The Democrats did fuck that up, and they failed to address it. even though it was like this festering thing that they knew was going to bite him in the ass in the election. And they just did nothing, to help themselves.
Well, 2 points on that. Obama, in his 8-year tenure, deported 1.2 million illegal immigrants based on the contention that they had criminal activity on their hands. So, actually, Clinton deported 600,000. So the two presidents combined deported 1.8 million. If you remember correctly, Trump in his first days put about 200 Colombians on an airplane, got into a tiff with the Colombian government because they basically said, we can't accept this plane of people because we don't even have the proper paperwork. We don't even know who you're sending. And Trump said, I threatened them with tariffs, so they're taking the plane. They took the plane just to end the story. But the fact of the matter is, it was so grossly incompetent, and yet I literally got Instagram reels sent to me. What was it like? Like wow, or great job, Trump. You got Colombia to stand down on taking back 200 people.
Yeah.
Well, Colombia is going to stand down. You could have sent 2,000 people. They'll stand down. They're just saying do it right, and there's no issue. Then you had the notion of Guantanamo Bay holding 30,000 illegal immigrants. Guantanamo Bay, its maximum point of prisoners was 850 at its highest point of prisoners being held. You cannot have a facility with 30,000 criminals housed in one. You don't even have, and he's saying that the Border Patrol, they don't even have enough Border Patrol at the border. Forget about relocating enough Border Patrol to Guantanamo Bay to facilitate 30,000 prisoners. So the whole comment was asinine. It was childish. You're not going to house 30. You can't. Most federal prisons have what, 1,200 inmates at max? Because it's not an easy task to manage those people.
And speaking of asinine, is there anything more asinine or ridiculous looking than Kristi Noem in her little ICE uniform with her hair blow out, or her runway makeup out there, acting like she's knocking down doors and grabbing people? It's so freaking absurd. That's the entire presidency thus far. It's just absurd.
This is reality TV and antics given new meaning, given new. Reality TV was and will always be what I always said. I used to say the reason the Vietnam War was so unpopular is because it was the first time war was televised. So we saw napalm and what it did to people, and especially at times what it did to babies, which is just so the Iraq War was entirely different. We saw visions of a bomb sliding down a chimney. We didn't see the chimney exploding and the brick hitting the old lady across the street, binking her in the head and killing her. We didn't see that. We saw the missile making its way exactly where it was planned to make its way. So now we've got reality TV on a presidential White House level. We're through Zelensky out of the office, and I got Instagram reels like Trump's this tough guy. But North Korea returned Otto Warmbier, a beautiful young man, a beautiful college student, a beautiful American, beaten to death in a comatose state. His dad said it looked like they visibly pulled his teeth out with pliers. That's his dad's comment that he got on. And Trump's response now, Reagan, when Libya bombed a disco in Libya, when Libya bombed a disco that was frequented by U.S. servicemen in Italy, Reagan's response was he sent in F-16s and took out his home and took out his headquarters, and unfortunately his child died. Trump's response to the whole Otto Warmbier thing, he lands Air Force One on the DMZ, shakes hands with a North Korean general, kowtows to Kim Jong-un, and he's a tough guy. And then he tells the story. He himself tells the story. I picked up the phone and I told him I've got a bigger red button on my desk than you do. But no, that's the story you tell. But here's the reality that happened. Here's what happened. You gave the highest level diplomatic visit to the highest level terrorist country in the world. You landed your plane there. You walked onto the demilitarized zone where no other president would even ever think to go. You shook hands with the general that probably ordered Otto Warmbier's torture and death. And then you kowtowed to Ian, and he's a tough guy. He's a very tough man. And I always say, if Ronald Reagan were anything like Donald Trump, would he be Ronald Reagan? Would he be revered like Ronald Reagan was? No, it's a different day and age today. There's either this ultimate frustration with politicians in general, that to the point where just because he's straightforward, he's popular. I guess you could call it straightforward. I don't know. it seems uneducated to me, not straightforward. But I'm so concerned. I do think we're going to take back the White House, like Beth said. I do think we're going to take back the House and the Senate. I think we'll take the House and Senate possibly back in the midterms. But will we screw the pooch again? Will we lose the confidence of the people again?
I don't think we're going to get the Senate, to be honest. I think that the landscape of who's running and who's not running is like really, really not in our favor at all.
Yeah.
I just think what's in our favor is terrible times.
I think the House, without a doubt. Let's see.
The House stymies the legislative agenda. The Senate concerns me only because you get the House, you stop the legislative agenda. The only thing that concerns me about it, if we don't retake the Senate is judges.
I was just about to say
how many judges?
Yeah.
I mean, he nominated 300 in his first term, and they've ruled against him. So now he knows he's not going to make the same mistake he made in his first term. He is not going to nominate judges that are going to ever see anything other than his way. And
will even if say that we somehow do take the Senate at the midterms, will the Democrats have the balls and the gumption to, if Alito or Thomas decide that they're going to retire so Trump can name their replacement, for them just to not, to go full Mitch McConnell, and
right,
just stymie any effort for him to put anyone on the bench at any time, whether it's the first day of the third year or whatever, just stick together and say no. And I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Mitch McConnell refused to have Merrick Garland confirmation hearing on the floor to the point where his nomination expired. That's the precedent that Democrats should follow if they retake the Senate in 2026.
It's basically we're hanging on by a Coney Barrett. I mean, thank God,
and John Roberts.
And John Roberts, right. Yeah. And the two of them together, and then it's hilarious how MAGA world is now calling her a DEI hire.
Yeah.
I suppose woman.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah, she sided with Roberts and the moderate, the liberal justices on one of the many things that that they've overstepped in terms of, I think, Elon Musk. It was the aid that had already been approved, the billions of dollars from the USAID fund. But so anyway, MAGA world's freaking out because she sided with Roberts and the liberals. I don't think she's the only hope. I mean, she is. I've always believed she's a brilliant woman, brilliant legal mind. Don't agree with her positions on most things, and she's pretty kooky religious wise. But I think she's going to do what she believes is right. I don't think she's going to kowtow to Trump. Whereas, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh clearly are just going to, they're just going to stick with Alito and Thomas. They're going to rubber stamp anything in favor of the executive branch.
They just wanted her for the abortion vote.
Yeah.
Well, they got, the truth is, though, and I do agree with you, Beth, 100%. But the truth is, Amy Coney Barrett was Antonin Scalia's legal aide, whatever you call it, intern. I don't know what you call it. Clerk. Right. And Antonin Scalia recommended her highly. That's how she got to the point where she got the nomination. I thought Trump should have nominated her first, but he nominated her third by some stroke of fate. But the truth is, Antonin Scalia wrote 150 liberal opinions during his tenure on the bench. Mm-hmm. So I don't go down this rabbit hole that often Democrats do, where when they get a conservative nomination, they bash them to death. I do care. I do like John Roberts. I do like Amy Coney Barrett. I would like to see more of Sotomayor. I'd like to see more Keegans. But I'm not opposed to Amy Coney Barrett. I'm not opposed to John Roberts. But, Clarence Thomas, he's not my guy. We all know.
As much as I hated many of his opinions, Scalia, I can honestly say I would take 9 Scalias on the Supreme Court right now
right.
over the present makeup, just because he definitely was independent in his thinking. And it was based on reason. Now, I don't agree with his, originalist theories, but he did stick to them. And he wrote some really good opinions, and his writing was actually very good and entertaining for for legal writing. But yeah, I would take that over the present construction, because just those four, like in any given issue where they can bring Robertson or Conan Barrett,
You're done.
yeah, done. I mean,
You're
in
done.
very important ways.
Like Dobbs.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin, is it Schimmel? The judge that they're trying to get, Elon Musk is trying to get.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
He's
think
trying
it's Schimmel. Anyway,
On the bench?
yeah, in Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but he has even come out and said, like, you can pay for my loyalty if you want me to. Yes, like honestly,
I got to research this guy because I heard briefly about him, but I didn't know he could say you could buy me.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
well, I feel like he's just sort of like a Trump, like just like him, just like Clarence Thomas. Like they don't really follow the rules. It's whatever benefits them, So like, Elon Musk is really backing this guy, so he must be
Dirty player.
very dirty, in my opinion.
A bad actor.
A bad actor.
Well, what do you think? Have we covered a lot of topics today?
We covered the same topic.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, what's going on? Like, it almost seems like it's going to be the same thing for 4 years. We'll probably still be talking about the price of eggs come, I don't know.
They're not going down.
No.
I find it more exhausting this time around than I did last time. Like, I didn't really even notice how pervasive his antics were the first time around as much as now. Now it's just, you can't get away from it. It's all the news. You can't really like explore the news at all without going head first into whatever Trump's done or Musk has done. It's like having two of them, because you got, what did Elon do today? What did Trump do today? What did Big Balls do today?
Yeah, it used to be funny, and you could, we laughed about all the dumb stuff you do, and now it's gotten quite dark, and it's
because the no guardrails, which we all knew, we saw coming. We're like, back then, in the good old days,
4 years ago,
6-7 years ago, whatever it was, we had people that are like, well, they won't let this happen. We've got, you had legitimate heads of the military and Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs, and that's all gone. So I mean, Pete Hegseth really is the Secretary of Defense. Like, that actually is a reality.
And he took down Miley's pictures. He took down his security detail. He took down his national security clearance. And it's not, and there's no voice of outrage from the Republicans. So really concerning, because Miley was this incredible soldier and served for 40 years, and just to be slapped in the face and treated like crap by a kid that, like I say often enough, never ran a Taco Bell, and the Republicans sitting back and allowing it, really gives me cause for alarm, really gives me cause for concern. And like you said, we're going to be talking this for 4 years, and I feel like it's going to get worse, worse, and worse. My biggest concern is, again, if we don't somehow as Democrats at least regroup to a point where we can retake the Senate in 2026, it's easy to say we're going to retake the House. The House is easy to flip in a midterm. It's unusual that it's not. The victory that Biden saw, the lack of victory that Republicans saw in 2022 was extremely unusual. We will take back the House. I'm extremely confident of that.
Yeah,
we need to, as Democrats, focus on the Senate, because if we don't, and there is, God forbid, a liberal justice that dies, and you've now literally got another lunatic conservative, because you can consider Kavanaugh, you can consider Gorsuch, lunatic conservatives, but you can't imagine what will be next up on up for bat, as far as if Trump gets nominated another judge. It may be who Beth was just talking about, for all you know. It could be Kash Patel, for all you know.
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. It could be. And when we saw the confirmation hearings, yeah, he dropped out because he got concerned that they're going to really throw some dirty water at him.
Judge Judy. I don't think you even have to have a law degree to be a Supreme Court justice. I'm pretty sure.
No, you don't have. There's no law.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
the
don't-
only thing you have to be able to is pass the senators quizzing, and if they're on your side, they can soft pitch you the whole way.
Yeah. It's
There's
a
no.
joke. I mean, the whole confirmation process has become such a freaking joke. I mean, they lie with impunity all the time. Every one of them did it on abortion. They do everything. It's pointless because they always lie and they're never held accountable. So what's the point of the whole dog and pony show? Just do the
It
votes.
is. It's just that Senator Collins said, "I got assurances from Kavanaugh he won't overturn Roe versus Wade, and he was the deciding vote on Dobbs." I mean, so thanks for your assurances, but I think the whole thing was just lip service, whatever they call that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm just saying, as if anybody's listening to this show, as Democrats, we need to vote down the line. I don't care if your brother-in-law is the Republican running for the Senate in 2026. You need to vote for the Democrat, because the fact of the matter is that's where the real danger lies ahead now. I do think that most of the bench, I don't see any changes in the bench this first 2 years. But the next 2 years are very questionable. I mean, they're talking about and now I forget the name of Spanish justices who has diabetes. What's her name?
I'll tell you what, though, they're going to look at the polls. If it looks like the Senate is at all at threat, come say May, like a year from now, I think you'll see both Alito and Thomas step down so Trump can appoint their successors while they still have the Senate.
Well,
I don't think they'll risk waiting till the midterms and the possibility of the Democrats taking the Senate and being able to stymie any efforts. So I think they're going to be reading those polls and making a decision based on that. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of them step down, like I said, maybe a year from now, just so their successor can be handpicked by the Heritage Foundation and Trump.
I would have wished, and I hate to say it because she was a beautiful woman, but I wish Ginsburg would have applied that logic.
Yeah,
because
Obama tried to do it.
What happened with that? They said he couldn't do it, so he just didn't.
She didn't step down.
No, he tried to convince her to step down so he could name a replacement. She wouldn't budge.
It's her call.
Yeah.
And if she lived another 30 days, they wouldn't have even had time.
But what I mean is, remember Lindsey Graham? He was like, "You can use my words against me." Back when
that they won't the nomination.
Yeah, why was there like a rule or something?
No, it's not. There is no actual rule. This is all stuff that McConnell made up on his own.
No, McConnell stopped the Senate from doing anything other than confirming Amy Coney Barrett, and Lindsey Graham was on board. They literally stopped all sorts of Senate business to usher through Amy Coney Barrett, and they made it clear to Obama, you shouldn't be nominating anybody in your last few months of a presidency.
It wasn't even the last few months. It was like the last year.
Yeah, a year. Yeah.
It was in January.
It makes me, that's what I was saying. I was thinking back. Did we just not have the votes in the Senate? Like, why did he not go through it? Because
when did Scalia die? That's when it was. This is right. When Scalia died suddenly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why. I mean, like, I remember, Obama talking like, there's things they're telling me I can't do. And I wonder why they just didn't push it. Was he trying to just play by the rules or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, that's out.
Well, no, because he did nominate Merrick Garland and Chuck and Mitch McConnell said the proudest moment in his career was when he stymied Merrick Garland's even confirmation hearing.
That was February. That was February.
Yeah. So they had till November. But Obama had to take his time making a decision. But when did he announce Merrick? Probably by April.
Because what's the name of that office? It always goes to that office that has to make a decision on procedures when it comes to the Supreme Court. Not the Supreme Court, but from the Senate. The Senate, I forgot the name of that, but the one they're always going to decide certain things that are kind of on the border.
The Ways and Means Committee, or no?
I forgot what it is. You hear it come up a lot whenever they're talking about like getting rid of the filibuster or using it or partially using it, and it always goes to this office that's supposed to make like a nonpartisan report on.
Oh, you're talking about like the parliamentary part of the Senate?
Something like that. Something like that.
There's like a parliamentary part of the Senate where like it applies towards the Byrd rule where you can't do certain things because of certain logic.
Yes, I mean the rules of our Congress are so bizarre. like the whole process. It's really very confusing how they do things.
Well, the Senate's real confusing.
Traditions.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely seen, and it's so clear that there's an upper and lower chamber because, like, the House of Representatives is really a freaking clown show. I mean, unfortunately, you're starting to see some of those clowns make it into the Senate as well now. So sometimes, I mean, Tuberville, perfect example. Like Tommy Tuberville is a freaking senator. Wow. Or one guy from Texas. I mean, just some real morons.
He was a great football coach, though.
Sure. Should have stuck to that.
Well, have you guys heard that there's talk of bringing the draft back?
I certainly hope not. No, I haven't heard that.
For which war?
Well, that's what I mean, I like I said, I don't mean to get dark, but it does make you wonder if we're not going to be in some sort of
Well, all we need is drone pilots, really. We don't need soldiers. 70% of the casualties right now in Ukraine are on either side are from drones now.
Oh yeah, Ukraine changed everything as far as war as we know it. I mean, frankly, I don't think we're going to make the changes that are necessary, but they're talking about how we need to make our military hardware a lot less expensive, a lot more disposable. And Ukraine changed everything. The drone wars are on now. And we learned a lot from that. That's one thing I always said about Ukraine was no matter how much money we gave them, the actionable intelligence that we learned from Ukraine war is incredible because we really need to revamp the way we think of going to war. But I just don't know, like you said, which war we're going to next.
But going back to the draft thing, I really am and always have been all for mandatory service. I think there should be mandatory service, whether it be military or the option of doing something like, Peace Corps or something like that. I think that would be a good thing for this country. But
that would be a good start. I just don't want.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I think in China they do that, right? Everybody has to.
Obviously, Israel, everyone.
Israel does that.
That's mandatory military service. I think there should be an option if if for whatever reason your own philosophy on war and military, you should have an option to do something else, but it should be service oriented.
Like first responder or.
Sure, yeah, anything that's service oriented. I think it'd be good for the country. It'd be good for this generation of young people. Because I think they need that. I think they could use that help. I could reuse that help. I always look back. I wish I had gone into the military for a couple of years at least. Would have been good for me at a young age. Would have matured me.
I agree. I tried going in the Air Force, but I slept through all my interviews or so. I forget what I slept through.
Well, on a last note, they after the Zelensky debacle, I heard Marco Rubio went around and gave $2 billion to Israel for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, not cool.
Who's been dropping 2,000-pound bombs on the Gaza Strip, which is the most densely populated area in the world at the moment? 2.6 million people.
We needed to clear it out to build those casinos, man.
Make it a giant wah-wah. It's going to be
those Donald Trump balloons with his big head.
What was it going to be? The Caribbean of the Middle East or something? What did they call that?
The French Riviera. The Riviera.
Yeah, the French Riviera of the Middle East.
Yeah, we're going
to flatten it. Like
that's crazy.
It's a giant amusement park, and the game is to try to stay alive while the people who are supposed to live there try to blow up the hotels. I mean, what a nightmare that would be. That would be the scariest place to visit in the world.
Oh no, it would never. We tried nation building in Iraq after we covered it with bombs, and Tommy Franks.
We needed more casinos. That was the problem. That was the mistake in Iraq. We should have gone straight casinos and water parks because they're in the desert, so they love a water park.
Need a water park.
But that's like a Donald Trump way of thinking about things too. It'd be like, hey, they're in the desert. They'll love a water park. Let's speak lots of water parks.
So why do you think he wants Greenland? Like, what would be the purpose of that?
So allegedly for national security, it has a strategic value. And Greenland's already said put a military base here if you really want to. But of course, it takes.
Wasn't that the old story too? Where they called Greenland because it was really just a bunch of ice, and they called Iceland.
Iceland because it was green.
Because it was green because they were trying to keep people from attacking it. They were trying to make it like less of a target for like military for another country to invade. Just to fool the simple-minded, and then along comes Trump, and he's still like, "Oh yeah, Greenland." Oh, that
And he says, we built the Panama Canal, it's ours. And it's like it was a contractual agreement that we return it.
but,
All Jimmy Carter did was honor the contract.
as much of a joke it is still really chilling to hear an American president make comments like, "We're just going to take Greenland." Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, clearly, like Denmark won't put up much of a fight if we actually went to war. But like, how is an American president actually talking like Putin? Not even Putin doesn't even come out and actually say it. Like he just,
No,
a bunch of lies
no.
and does it.
No, that's Trump's thing, though. When he says it, he's being straightforward. People like that bullshit.
Like, what do you like? He really can effectively bring Canada to its knees economically if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, well, are you talking about for the candidate for the tariff? Because
Sure. I mean, he's so in love with the tariff thing because he can do it unilaterally, right? He doesn't need anyone. He can just. That's why he loves those things.
It's a tax. It should have to go through the Senate and the House. But the thing is,
power.
yeah,
it would pass anyway right now even if it went through the Senate and the House. But the argument is this, though, and this is so we're gonna put tariffs on Canada because if they don't stop the drug fentanyl from coming over here. And my argument is this, coming especially from the guy that graduated Wharton's business school, it's called supply and demand. If we didn't have so many buyers in America, they wouldn't have so many people anxious to bring it over here. So we're really putting the cart before the horse when it comes to telling Canada, control your drug dealers from coming over here. They should be saying, control your drug users from buying all this crap, because these guys that are making these drugs are decimating our country as it is.
And it's 1% of the fentanyl that comes across the border on anybody. 1% comes from Canada. So the whole thing is a joke. Like
the whole thing's a joke.
Yeah.
But these leaders that are fighting back, like Canada and Mexico, that are putting, the counter tariffs, that's obviously not working for Trump. I mean, he keeps starting to put them back on, but I think he has made a lot of concessions. Mm-hmm. But I did see where Canada has blocked access to Alaska, and that's gonna be a fun.
I think there's something they're doing too that could really, really cripple gas prices up in that part of the country. Yeah.
Oh, they're fighting back.
But some of it is personal. Like with Trudeau, it's definitely personal. With Zelensky, it's definitely personal. It's like Trump, didn't, kowtow or flatter Trump to the level that he wanted or expected as king, and that's why they're punishing him. I mean, that's why Macron is so good at being as obsequious as a world leader can be to another, because he understands how to play the game. Even Trudeau, he made that statement. It's so ridiculous to hear him say it over and over again, but he's like, Mr. Trump, I know you're an intelligent person, but doing this is dumb. Like, you got to come on.
You got to say you're intelligent. He likes that. He feels good.
Start with a compliment. It's like at the State of the Union when he talks about he's like a little kid who was never loved. You can see all his problems from child coming out. He goes, these Democrats over here, see, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, they won't applaud, they won't cheer, they won't even smile.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. It's like, it's like a petulant partner in a fight.
Well, I had a good friend of mine. I have a good friend of mine who I respect and really like him. He's a great friend. And he talked about how Democrats acted atrociously during the State of the Union. Yeah. And I'm like, you're parading a child with cancer as like you're champion his cure and his help, but you're cutting billions of dollars from cancer funding.
Yeah.
Research. And then they made it clear, Republicans, again, they're good at putting at the game of politics. They say, we're not cutting funding. You are cutting funding on cancer research. What you're doing is cutting funding to universities that research cancer, and it's the universities that allow protests of things like Israel dropping 2,000 pounds bombs on Gaza. I think it's okay if our college students are concerned about the kind of genocide that's happening in Gaza. I don't like protest. I don't like disorder. But if you have an opinion, you should be able to voice your opinion. And to take money away from any college that allows protests, any college that insists on masks, we're going to cut their funding. You are now a king, and we are now in a constitutional crisis. You are now passing edicts down and saying this is the consequences if you don't follow my rule.
Yeah.
And this is a real issue.
No, it's actually happening. It's not theoretical anymore.
It's not.
It's what we said was going to happen all along, though.
We knew it would happen, and everybody said I had a guest on this show. I'm going to bring him back, and I asked him to come back next week with us about how he says what Trump says and what Trump does is two different things. They're not two different things. They're very much. He wrote a book.
It's what
His
he
name
can
is
get away
Kevin
with.
Howard. He's very interesting.
He gets as much as he can get away with done. I mean, the only time he doesn't do something that he says he's going to do is when we stop him.
Right.
You know, when the judiciary holds. I mean, that's what we're hanging by.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, this has been incredible. I think we'll all agree we're pretty good at this. We're getting better at it. And I don't know. I guess not.
What? No, sure. I think
no.
We're progressing.
We are. This is incredible. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Like, if you want more listeners or more viewers, you should, I don't know, like, don't you advertise it or like?
I do. I'm going to boost this post next. Once it's on Facebook, I've been boosting the posts. Yeah, we're going to get them. We're going to be, you guys are going to be famous. They're going to cut me out. They're going to say, cut the old ugly guy out. But
no, I think that, isn't it your show?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just a little gallows humor, like asking Zelensky about his tie.
Oh gosh, like I don't know. It's gotten dark. It's gotten depressing. I don't know. We'll have to come up with something more cheerful, I guess, next time.
Oh yeah, we could talk about our Gators days.
At least
shots.
Yeah. At least we get Mike Myers doing Elon Musk. That's a treat. So that's a funny kid.
Oh, Saturday Night Live. I gotta watch that.
Oh yeah. Oh, you haven't seen him?
No.
Oh, which is kind of funny because you had Dana Carvey doing it. There's one half of Wayne's World, but the last 2 weeks it's been Mike Myers, and he just nails it. I mean, it's a little Dr. Evilish. You kind of get that, but that kind of works.
Oh, I did see that. You're talking about SNL?
Yeah. Actually, last night he actually even threw in a Dr. Evil of the $1 billion, but he does the Musk thing where he's constantly like flipping out, and then he goes back to the thing with the hands. It's really good.
I'm gonna watch it today. Actually, when I get home tonight, I'll put it on YouTube TV.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
All right, my friends. I think are we gonna do this again next week? Anybody got time?
Yeah,
I believe so. I don't think I got it.
That'd be great. I'm gonna try to get Kevin Howard on. Today, so. You guys want to? Do you guys want to share the spotlight with one more corner?
Sure.
His name is Kevin Howard. He's an author. He was very interesting.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it.
I already emailed him, and he said, "Yeah, next week's a go if it's a go with you guys." I said,
"Where is he on the political spectrum?" I feel like we need another
Trumper. He's essentially a Trumper.
Oh,
he was a Democrat, and now he's a Trumper.
That's what we need.
And he wrote a book, and I'm gonna read it. I got a lot, but I'm gonna read his book. That's next. I'm gonna make that a priority.
Oh, send us the information. I'll read it if we're gonna do this with him.
I'm gonna have him on the show. I'll send it to you. What I'll do is I'll email him again today, and he'll email me back, and I'll email you both about it. See if you want to look at it.
Now too, so
this'll be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
The little poochkin did fall asleep on us.
She's
He's out.
I didn't know if you could see the blind one. Every time he tries to leave, he like can't find the door.
Yeah, I've been watching that, but I'm not laughing at him. I may be blind someday.
Oh,
I'm already getting there.
All right, so like, subscribe, share, comment, tell us what you think. We want to read your comments on the show. This has been wonderful. We have been, I want to say one thing though, and it's not about politics, it's about our friendship. We've been friends for 30 years, and none of us have ever had a disagreement.
You have got to stop telling everybody how long it makes me look older.
Well, you're the youngest of the bunch, silly. I'm the oldest, right?
What's that?
I'm the oldest.
This will be so this spring will be exactly 30 years. That I started at Gators.
See, he said the 30-year point. The 30 years.
1995. Yeah. Good God.
No, totally. It's
that's the longest job I've ever held, except my current job. Like I've been at the job now over 10 years, but I was at Gators for like close to 10 years.
I was at Gators for 12 years.
You want to know something? I was at Gators on and off 23 years.
Wow.
On and off.
But what did they put in the old Ocoee location?
They haven't yet. It's just empty.
Honestly, I was thinking about moving back to Florida. Kid you not, just to serve. My niece makes 75 grand bar
Damn.
or serving at season 52. So they make me an accountant
Wow.
degree.
I do very well as a server. I make more than that. That's
And
all
you make
I'm a
25.
podcaster, which makes me no money, and I'm fine with that because I love it. But and
Well, yeah, if you promote, I'll have to promote and get you,
I
like,
boosted a post last week with Darren. I'm gonna boost this one once Laura gets it up. I got the greatest administrator in the business, and she does a great job. And she was like, "You need to start boosting the post." That's a conversation we had just this week, and I said, "I'm on it." And I picked one and I boosted it.
yeah, Charlie gives you a lot. And any video I see that he's on, Charlie's popular. He's got
Oh
tons.
yeah, this is this one, and I'm gonna look for the other one. I'll boost that one. We have a great one or two. I'll boost those tonight. I'll be sitting in my car after work, thinking about all the stupid shit I said to guests and laughing, and I'll start boosting posts. I
It's
always think
definitely beneficial to have someone different opinion because we are
he'll be
all
here.
so.
He said unless he's changed his mind, I will email him again, and then I will email you guys the book. So it's either one
Yeah.
for sure. He's written one. He's doing a book signing today. That's why he's not here today. But I also didn't want to spring it on you, so I did want to bring it to your attention before I did it. So it's good that he. I guess you could say it was good he was not available for today, but
Yeah.
he is available for next week. So let's plan on it next week, and I'll send out texts, Zoom invites. I'll send you emails about what his book is called, all in the next day or two.
Let me just make sure I made.
When's your book coming out, Trippy?
Huh?
I said, when's your book coming out?
It is really coming together now. So again, like I said, I came at a crossroad. And then I call again my friend Laura, my administrator. I said, "What do you do when you come to a crossroad?" She said, "Write an outline." And my outline has become Tucker Carlson when he did his exit interview about when do we ever talk about now I forget my outline, but have we become a country of one party? He did this whole diatribe in his exit interview, and that's become my outline. So it's really coming together now. I can't. It was demographics was another thing we never talk about. Emerging technologies is another thing we never talk about. He listed about 7 things that the media never talks about, and he believes it's because Democrats, Republicans, and the media collude on what to talk about. So that's a part of my outline now is those 7 topics that he listed. So it's really coming along. And I would say my goal is less than 1 year. It'll be done. Laura will be my manuscript editor, and it'll be incredible because it's kind of like I always say it's kind of like if I paint my kid's room, you're going to see the rough edges all around. So if you have a professional painter do it, it looks great. Well, it's like having Laura edit everything I do. It's going to look great when I'm done.
Oh,
So
she does the editing too. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
in its simplest terms, what is it going to be about?
Simplest term, current events, everything going on today. The growing chasm between rich and poor is a big part of it. The failure of our education system is a big part of it, and how our education could do so much more for me thinking out loud how our education could do so much more for so many more people. Stuff like that.
Reminds me of an excellent book I read about 10 years ago. I figure out what it is. I'll send you a copy. But
Yeah, send it to me because I would read that.
You may have read it already.
He's going to crack the code on how to transform everyone to Democrats.
No, I haven't figured that one out yet. That would be great, though. Or how we could be at least as dedicated as Republicans. I think Donald Trump's appeal is his gold toilets. I think everybody wants a gold toilet in their house. Everybody wants to be a billionaire.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll do I'll do some studies and see if I can't come up with a more educated answer next time for you.
That would be interesting. I just want to know where we went wrong or where they went right. I'm still trying to figure that out because we are really hurting right now.
I bet you if you asked 10 Democrats, you'd have 10 different answers.
Oh yeah. I really think it all comes down to like the media and the attention economy and the changing behavior of the electorate that they have a better grip on it and understand it and know how to manipulate better than the Democrats do. Just haven't learned those lessons yet.
Well, just say that.
That's silly shit.
Just say that's it. Are Democrats willing to adapt? I mean, that's the question. Are they willing to change? Or are they going to stick to the same old stuff? And
you need leadership to make that change happen. Like you need a particular leader to be appealing enough that they believe in them to make those changes, to go with those changes. And I just don't see that voice right now. Maybe Fetterman, he's kind of emerging as that type of voice, but
Fetterman?
yeah.
I don't know that
Fetterman.
he's in good health, right?
No, that's the thing. I find it hard to believe that he would kind of, because of his health issues, that he would ever be elected like as a presidential candidate after the stroke. But in terms of him going a different direction, a much more centrist direction than the rest of the party, he's really kind of gone off on his own there. So he could be an interesting voice going forward.
That was great.
2 Senate or 2 House seats in Florida.
Special elections.
Yeah.
Josh Wheel, and there's another one. I got their names. I sent them emails to be on my show, be on the show.
Good for you.
Josh Wheel is one of them, and he may win. That would be enormous if we took them both.
That would be enormous.
They'd be down to one vote.
Yeah. When you got governor coming up too, I know. Oh, Ronnie D's trying to push his wife, but I think that that sycophantic, was it Byron Nelson or that guy's name is? The black kid, pretty young.
Oh, Byron Donaldson. Oh, I can't stand
he's he's emerging as like the front runner for governor.
Oh no. Oh,
I'd rather have Casey DeSantis, to be honest.
Yeah, I cannot stand Byron. Okay, anyway.
Okay, guys.
All right,
I'm gonna send you all emails. We're on for next week. I'm gonna send Kevin an email. I'm gonna send you emails about his book. Okay. I got this down.
Y'all
Thanks,
send
guys.
out the video. I'll get you.
Yeah, I need you. You can be my promotion.
And I'll send you the name of that book.
Oh, please. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
This is great.
Okay,
I'm really
thanks.
enjoying this. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.